I'm Alex Meehan. I'm staff writer at Dicebreaker. I sit at my desk and write really interesting features and news and other such hilarious articles. And I have been locked here eternally till the end of time to answer these questions for you, the beloved audience. So let's get started. First question. Why did you join Dicebreaker? Well, aside from writing about board games as a living is a pretty damn good job, I just really enjoy expressing myself, my opinions through my writing, and also, you know, tabletop gaming is becoming more exciting. It's a growing industry and community, and to be able to be on the front line of that and a part of it is really exciting. So Dicebreaker is the ultimate opportunity to do that, especially shaping the website from the very beginning. So yeah, that's why I wanted to join Dicebreaker. If you and your friends were stuck on a desert island, what games would you bring? Well, obviously the worst answer would be some sort of social deduction game where we betray each other and never speak to one another again, but I like to live life on the dangerous side. So I'm gonna pick, gosh, something awful. Like, well, werewolves is the obvious choice, but coup is a pretty good choice as well. The kind of game that you can whack out quickly in a few rounds, so definitely, yeah, coup. Rhino Hero, definite choice on the sand. The most structurally capable piece of landscape out there. And finally, let's think, something big. Eldritch Horror. That's a great choice. Takes forever to play, so we'll definitely not get bored while stuck there waiting for rescue if it ever comes. If not, well, hopefully, maybe our Eldritch gods will finally come down and end us all. Let's move on. I love that stuff. I love that sort of thing. Favorite type of die? I'm a big fan of D8. Yeah, I think D8s are often, number one, they're often like the standard damage die for a lot of weaponry in D&D and such, so they often pop up a lot, and they just have a really like pleasing shape, and they're not as rubbish as a D4, but they're not as, you know, unnecessarily extravagant as a D12 or a D20, so yeah, definitely D8s for me. If you could design one board game, what would it be about? Oh goodness. I believe we were talking about this at EGX the other week, but as a young child, I used to collect various gross animals. I just liked slimy animals, so frogs, snails, etc. So I think I'd definitely, you know, like how Pokemon was inspired by bug catching, I would definitely make a board game about collecting specifically gross animals and putting them in jars and then inevitably having your mother come in and tell you off because the snails have escaped and they're all over your room. Yeah, definitely like that, like collecting the animals and then having to rush to get them back in. Sounds like a really good habit game. Yeah. Oh goodness. It's a bit racy. Bonk, marry, kill, betrayal, bang at the dice game, and dominion. This is interesting. Okay, so bang at the dice game is it's a fantastic experience, but it's like one that kind of I wouldn't play over and over again, you know, in the space of just a week. It's definitely something that you pop out, play it for a bit, and then it goes away again until maybe another social situation. So I probably like just bang the dice game because it's just a quick thrill and then you're done for a little bit, maybe you'll come back.
It's also literally called bang.
Yeah, it's also literally called bang, so why wouldn't you pick that? I think I'd marry betrayal, simply because there's a lot of mileage with betrayal, simply because of the amount of the different scenarios that you can encounter. It's a big old book, and then if you count in the expansion, it's also even more scenarios you could play. So, you know, if you're stuck with them for a long time, you know, things will definitely stay exciting. and also tell a few pretty interesting stories and spooky stuff. I can't think of anything that makes me feel more romantic than a good giant spider or spooky ghost scenario, so definitely marry betrayal, and I guess I would have to kill Dominion, even though I wouldn't want to, because it's definitely my first deck building game, and it's possibly one of my first board game experiences where I was actually like, hey, board games are pretty good. They're not just ways of making your family angry at you. So yeah. Oh, here we go, the ultimate question. Ameritrash or Eurogame? I mean, I don't like to encourage this kind of dispute because I kind of like games from both sections. But if I were to have to choose, it would probably be Ameritrash, because number one, I am a trash goblin. And so therefore it's my natural instinct to veer towards that. But also, I just love themed games. I love thematic games. I love games that can really immerse you in its world and its stories and things like that. You know, hence why I love Betrayal so much. So, Euro games are great, depending on which one you're playing, but I definitely think Ameritrash if I had to. What tabletop-related item is most effective as an implement of murder? How did I know this question was going to be asked? This is something that is brought up very often in the Dicebreaker office. More often than it should, really. There should be, and to be honest, I add to that, so I shouldn't complain. I mean, let's think. Possibly like a very sharp, well, obviously like sharp token. Oh, I know exactly, and this is a bit of a kind of casual trash answer, but what is that game that's like, you've got the big tower and it's like full of marbles and you like you put sticks through the holes? Kaplunk! That's it, Kaplunk. Even though it's not a game I would ever play willingly, knowing that there are much better options out there, Kaplunk has these like sticks that you poke through the holes, and then if you know they all go down, you have to pull them out, and the marbles kind of go down. But those sticks have such potential to be used as like prodding, at least a prodding implement, if not like poking out eyeballs. You know, anything particularly long or pointed, you can definitely use as some sort of murderous weapon. So yeah, probably those. Board games or card games? I mean, board games have the advantage of, obviously, that they have a lot more potential to be open to so much more depth, so many more mechanics, and also like a pretty board game is definitely a way of selling a game to me at least. But card games I think are underappreciated. Like there are loads of really fantastic card games out there, like even little ones, like there's one called Penguin Party, which is just fantastic. Really simple, or like Love Letter, which has just been universally, you know, switcherooed with various different media pieces of culture like Batman or whatever. So I think I pick card games because I think card games just, they're often very quick and they're underappreciated, I think. So yeah, card games. What's your favourite party game? I'm a big fan of party games. I think party games, if a party game is done well, it has so much potential to be just a barrel of laughs. Also, any excuse to kind of get drunk with your friends and actually have a game that encourages that drunken behaviour is the best. So I would say favourite party game, I mean Junk Art is an excellent one. I'd say maybe play at the beginning of the night before things get a bit too rowdy and like people just don't want to bother. But like Junk Art is a really fantastic dexterity game where you have to like create bits and pieces of art using different like shaped blocks and they have different rounds that have different rules, so it doesn't get sort of boring. It's always sort of changing it. So I would definitely pick Junkard. If you died, what board game would they play at your funeral? Oh my goodness. Probably Shadowhunters. If anyone has ever heard of that game, it's a game that I go on about all the time, and poor Matt has to put up with listening to me talk about it. And it is like, it almost distills elements of my personality into it. I mean, number one, it's a spooky game. Number two, it has kind of a few random elements that are a bit like unnecessary and stupid. But to me, they just elevate the game and make it fun because rounds are so quick. And, you know, once you start realizing you've been like messed up, you're not going to get salty over it by the time the next round begins. So I suppose quick-witted, a little bit stupid, but also just a lot of fun. So yeah, Shadowhunters, I think. What's your favourite place to play games? I think the kitchen. I love snacks, probably to my detriment. But having a place where like snacks are available and various other beverages is definitely, I think, and it's necessary to a good board game night. Like, don't drop pieces of crisps on my games, please, otherwise I'm gonna get Larry. But yeah, have a good snack pool available if you're going to be playing board games, and the kitchen is just the ideal place for that. So yeah, probably the kitchen. Tiny games or massive games? I mean, some of my favourite games are like what we'd call big boys. But I'm almost on this sort of campaign trail at the moment to push like smaller games that come in like nice, neat little boxes that you can take with you to a friend's house without taking up half the boot with just one box. You know, like little games like, yeah, like for example, Coup and Bang the Dice game are very, very small boxes, but that's because they don't need to be unnecessarily big. Hello, Sushi Roll, why do you have loads of cardboard bits in you when Sushi Go Party is so small and lovely and in a nice little tin and you've got everything you need in there? So I'd say I'm gonna go for the small games this time, yeah. What's the weirdest thing one of your RPG characters has ever done? We were playing this game of Dread, and Dread is a really fantastic RPG because it's built on one-shots. It's survival horror, which I love. And the rules are so open that it just allows for so much storytelling potential. So, like, Dread is one of those RPGs that I find myself coming back to. And another reason why is because when we were playing this game of Dread, my friend had created the story where we're on like an Arctic outpost, a little bit like The Thing. And we were all trying to power up the outpost and get out there before the terrible beings infested inside inevitably murdered us all. And I was kind of initially, you know, you're playing your character trying to help everyone. But I kind of had this streak where I was doing potentially unnecessarily unpleasant things to the other players. I think I kind of fell into this character, and one of her actions were, one of the characters was trying to get out of an area that was, you know, being closed off on all sides by the monsters. And she had, like, as much time as she could to open the door for them, get them out and close the door and seal it and stop the monsters from coming out. But instead, I just felt like, you know what? It's probably better just to lock that, keep it there. It's not going to be a problem anymore. So I locked the door, sealed it up with the person inside, and like walked off out into the kind of main station where the helicopter was getting ready to go. And my friend just looked at me and said, "How could you?" In the most serious, sincere voice ever, and I just went, "Why not?" And then that was it. That was the end of the Dread game. So that's probably because I'm not usually an awful person, but I just felt like being an awful person that time. So yeah, that's probably one of the weirdest things I've done in an RPG game. Name 4 board game designers. Oh my goodness. So 4 board game designers off the bat. Gosh, okay. So probably like Matt Leacock. I believe he designed Pandemic, which is like one of the biggest gateway board games out there. Most people, even those people who aren't hugely into tabletop, probably have heard of Pandemic. So Richard Garfield, the designer of Magic the Gathering, one of the biggest collectible card games out there. It's been going for Lord knows how long and still going, and so yeah, he's definitely got a lot of medals on his jacket, as it were. Vlada Chvátil, the designer of Codenames, which has spawned 100 spin-offs, really classic word game. And finally, I'm going to need a break to do this one. Jamie Stegmaier, he designed a game called Scythe, which I believe both Johnny and Wheels are a huge fan of, and he's recently brought out a game called Tapestry, which we can get our hands on, and maybe we'll do something on that in the future, who knows? So yeah, those are the 4 designers. Which celebrity would you most like to play an RPG with? There's been a lot of talk around the office about a certain celebrity called Brendan Fraser. If you don't remember, he's from a film called The Mummy, which was one of the hottest films back in early 2000s. I know we had a copy on VHS and I used to watch it a lot. So like Brendan Fraser kind of became sort of cemented in my mind from a younger age. And I know he's not done a lot recently, which is a damn shame because that is one charismatic man. I think I would definitely just want to play an RPG with Brendan Fraser because I want to catch up on what he's been up to. And 2, I would deliberately make like the mummy themed RPG for him to play, just so I can relive the film with him there. And also he seems like really game for shenanigans because he just does things like go to steakhouses and leave like nice little messages like, "I liked your steak, my name is Brendan." So yeah, I think Brendan Fraser would be the one I'd pick, which surprises no one, I think. What is the most edible board game component? I mean, I don't think we need to put a disclaimer here of please don't consume any amount of your board games, but I know the other day when we were playing Curios and we were talking about how nice those gems are. Like, I'm a big fan of like Fox's like hard sweets and stuff like that, although sometimes they can get gummed up in the back of your mouth, which can lead to all sorts of issues. But I think I probably want to eat one of those gems. They go down quite well. And they look like they could taste like strawberry or something, which is definitely my deal. So yeah, like gems. What excites you about Dicebreaker? I mean, aside from the fact that I get to hang out with some of the coolest people I know, and I count myself in that group, and play board games and tabletop RPGs, and I actually get an excuse to bring out some of my obscure, weird horror RPGs for people to play because none of my other friends actually want to play them. Just, being part of a tabletop website and video channel where at the moment it just feels like there's not a huge amount out there that's extremely accessible and that just like is designed to get as many people into tabletop gaming and also like feed the people who already like it as much as possible. It's like starting up this amazing venture where people were just living on tiny little bread scraps and onion skins. And we're finally flinging open the doors of the feast hall and just being like, come in and eat as much delicious trifle as you want. We have all the trifle. Yeah, so that's what excites me about Dicebreaker, giving the people tabletop trifle. If you were a board game, what kind of board game would you be? Probably something like a dexterity game. Yeah, or like one of those games like Telestrations is a fantastic game. That's another really good party game. A game where I just enable people to be their best self, meaning their most ridiculous self, and kind of go along with the japes and the laughs. So yeah, probably like either a silly dexterity game or like a party game that encourages, you know, bad manners, but in a good way. Shenanigans, yeah. What game are you sick to death of playing? I remember for a while I was part of a friend group who were really into, I say this having said I really like it, were really into Eldritch Horror. Like, they would deliberately create social events to play Eldritch Horror, and it would probably take the entire day. And then we would end the day with like a movie like, I think, not the latest Rambo, but the Rambo before that. I think it was Rambo 5, and it was awful. But that was fun for a time, but then it would happen so often that I would just get so tired of playing Eldritch Horror and losing all the time that once they had to make a social event, and they didn't call it Eldritch Horror, they called it something completely different, like drinks or something. And I went round there expecting, you know, like chilled out, you know, maybe we'd go to the pub or just watch some films or something like that. And I turn up and they're all sat there at the table with Eldritch Horror laid out, and I'm like, you've got to be damn kidding me. You knew what my response would be to this, and everyone else knew except me. And, you know, I probably, maybe I play Eldritch Horror like next year, but that kind of string of just endless games of Eldritch Horror where you just lose and lose and it just beats you down. Yeah, I just don't think I could stand the sight of it at the moment. Yeah, Eldritch Horror. And it looks like the bucket is empty. All that remains are ashes. They look like literal ashes in there. So that's me done. I hope you enjoyed the video. You can see my writing on Dicebreaker later this year. I'll be appearing in some other videos probably. But other than that, yeah, subscribe, like, and follow us on social media. That's me done.